Thank you for the introduction. You stole my thunder. So first, thank you everyone for attending this talk. I won't be talking about Aporia today, and we'll try to be very, very practical. What we're going to be talking about is a framework for building great ML products, and we also talk about what is machine learning product, how it's different from machine learning model, the meaning, and so on. So just to add a few more notes about myself, so yeah, I'm coming from software engineering background. I've done that for over 20 years. I've dealt with machine learning, software engineering at large scale, so had first-hand experience running models at scale and all the fun stuff that comes with it. As part of that, later on, I also went to the evil side of the investors, spent about 3 years over there and decided I want to go back and started Aporia. Other than that, I really enjoy the combination of business, technology, everything that comes all together. And I'm a proud owner of the almighty Chuchu that you see here, so she's amazing. All right, so let's start with a quick example. All right, we've been tasked as data scientists, as ML engineers, we've been tasked by our product manager who told us that they want to improve the revenues our e-commerce website is generating by creating recommendations for our users, recommendations about some product. I guess that you all know that when you go to Amazon or stuff like that, you get recommendations. You might want to look at this product. People similar to you bought this product, and so on and so forth. Can you do that? Right? So obviously, the easy answer is yes, we are taking challenges. So what we're doing, we're taking the data, right, like CSV files, starting to do some EDA, playing in our notebooks, starting to clean our data, see what's going on, conducting experiments for a couple of weeks, doing some hyperparameter tuning, feature engineering, until we finally get to a point that we got to NDCG of 0.92. If someone is not familiar with NDCG, it's just a performance metric that is really popular in recommender systems. In a way, if you're familiar with accuracy or F1 score, it's very similar, just different calculation. All right, so we have NDCG of 0.92. We're happy, right? What do we do with that? Quickly, we save it to a pickle file, right? Like, that's great. We want to save these results. And great success. Well done. So can we now move on to our next project, right? Like, it's been fun. We have our model. Let's move on to another challenge. Well, seems like Chuchu is not happy. And she doesn't like us to move to the next project. Why? She's asking us, is it success? All right, so what is success? What was the goal from the very beginning, right? Was it NDCG? Was it reaching 0.92 of NDCG? What about the revenues, right? Our product manager told us they want to increase revenues. We've never looked at this parameter, right? So we worked for weeks, but have we changed something? Well, yes, we do have a pickle file on our computer, maybe on an S3 bucket. Right, and obviously I'm a bit exaggerating, okay? But have we changed something for someone, right? Is there anyone in the world, it could be our product manager, it could be the users, the consumers who are getting to our website and want to buy and want to find some cool and nice recommendations for new products, have we done something for them? And do anyone care about what we've done, right? And another question here is, all right, so we got to an amazing NDCG, like applause, awesome, but is NDCG enough? So what you see on the screens right now is that the user, for example, they were looking for a white polo shirt, right, which cost $54 US. The model predicted as a recommendation based on that, another item, another polo shirt, which is also white, so looks like a good recommendation. But a small subtle difference is the price tag. So it's $640 US. Do you think that if I was on the look to buy a polo shirt on $50, would I buy $600 shirt? Well, I don't think so. Maybe like after a couple of beers, but not on an average day. All right, so this is just one example of a problem of why NDCG is not enough. It's not capturing this kind of issues. And let's just split the numbers, right? So let's say I like to live in a high lifestyle. I don't buy cheap stuff, okay? So I buy only polo shirts that cost at least a few hundreds of dollars. But you know what? I saw this nice recommendation about this shirt, which looks even a bit better than the shirt I was looking for. And you know what? It's even cheaper. It's $50. Well, it's a no-brainer, right? I'll buy it. But what does that mean for the business? So from the data science side of things, it's great. We gave a recommendation for the user. The user clicked on it and actually performed a purchase. On the other hand, for our product manager or our sales manager who need to report by the end of the quarter about revenues, well, we helped our users to spend less. So that's why dealing with machine learning models or having the mindset of machine learning models, it's much more complex than just talking about accuracy or F1 score or precision. These metrics are important, but they do not capture the whole complexity. And this is where we need to do a shift in our mindset from building ML models to building machine learning products. And this is not just terminology that I'm talking about. It's not just a nice buzzword, ML products, but there is a meaning to the mindset, and that's what we're going to talk about. And don't worry, I'm going to make it practical. It's not only slides. All right, so what is a machine learning product, and how is it any different from a machine learning model? So machine learning product is a software product, first and foremost, that facilitates an end goal of a group of users or an audience, right? So they want to reach a specific goal. Our goal is to help them. The only difference between traditional software product and machine learning product is that this is being done through the use of machine learning models, right? And a few examples, I'm sure you guys have more in mind. So we've talked about recommendation, price optimization, when we go and buy a new insurance policy, right? So in our machine learning, this is a machine learning product. Web personalization, when we go to a website, it's personalized to where we are coming from, who we are, what we like, what we don't like. Song recommendation, if it's YouTube Music or Spotify, I'm a fan of YouTube Music, but it doesn't really matter, right? And there are plenty of products like that. So we understand the differences between ML model and ML product, but how do we build great ML products? And that's what we're here to talk about. So I want to introduce you to this framework of 7 principles that should be incorporated, should be in our minds when we think, when we build machine learning products. So first one is being user-focused. Second, being goal-driven. 3, visualize, and we'll dig deeper into each one of them. Creating alignment between different stakeholders. Asking a lot of questions, measuring, and communicating. Or, in short, UGVAMK. No, I'm kidding. We were really trying to find a good name for it, but it was very difficult. So if you have any suggestion, later on, I'll be happy to hear. So for now, we'll just call it the framework, OK? All right, so I said framework. Until now, I just show you slides. So a quick sneak peek. This is a notion that this is the framework that you saw. Let me zoom in a bit. All right, so as you can see on the screen, the framework actually takes place throughout the whole process, from planning the machine learning product, research and development. And if you'll notice, these are 2 different stages, and we'll touch these because there are different questions to be asked on the research phase versus the development, and while we're in production. All right? And alongside, you'll see that for each step in the process, the framework comes with a set of tools to allow us really to make sure we adhere to the principles of the framework. And we'll get to it later on in our talk. All right, so let's understand what are these principles. Let's start with, we need to be user-focused. All right, so our dear data scientists who just built this amazing recommender system, they were focused about NDCG, right? Like maximizing the NDCG. And they were able to get like pretty nice results. But it's not about us. It's about the user. We need to have users in mind, right? Like constantly think about who are our users. In our case, is it the product manager? Is it the consumers who are getting to the e-commerce website? In this case, it's both, right? There could be multiple different personas that we are serving. And because they are different, and they're definitely very, very different from us as engineers or data scientists, we need to get to know them. How does how their daily life look like? What are the challenges they face? What do they care about the most? What makes them happy? Right? By getting to know them, we will be able to articulate better how to provide them with value, how to make them happy. By the end of the day, that's what we want to do. Or gain revenue. That's also OK. Number 2 is being goal-driven. So when building machine learning models, especially as data scientists or ML engineers, like we like to perfect everything. Like I remember myself spending tons of days and weeks on optimizing either the software architecture, thinking about scale of data and so on and so forth. The same goes with machine learning model. Well, maybe I can think about another feature that will provide with a huge uplift in my NDCG. Right? So it's a never-ending race. Where does it stop? So from the very beginning, before we even start, we need to think about, OK, what is the goal? What are we trying to achieve by building this machine learning product? In this case, right, like our product manager came to us willing to get more revenues. Like, that's great, that's nice. But it's not a clear product definition. We need to ask for more details. We need to ask questions that we get to this point. And having goals set from the very beginning allows us to do 2 things. One is to have clear mindset of when we need to prioritize things, right? Like sometimes, unfortunately, reality, things don't go as planned. How do we prioritize, right? Is it the most important thing right now, or can we move on, write it down, get to it later? It's a very good question. Having the clear goal, this will be a North Star for us to really evaluate this kind of challenges along the way. So this is one. And number 2 is how do we set the goals? This is also an interesting aspect because it's important not to shoot for the stars. Like we all want to be the best. We all want to build the best models ever. But it's not necessarily what our users need. Remember the first point? It's about our users. It's not about us. So how do we take the goal and really minimize it to minimum? That will provide value, though, but the minimum from effort perspective. Now, let's talk about visualization. A lot of time with machine learning projects, when building machine learning models, the first thing we do is like, all right, give me the data. Where's the data? I want the data. Let's clean it. Let's start to visualize, see distributions, see some means, see some missing values. Can I work with that? So even before that, like before just running and starting to model and do some experiments. And again, this is the difference of ML product versus ML model is how do we envision the end product? Okay, so how do we envision the world with our ML product live in production? All right, so is it a web application? Like, do we need to develop a web application as a front end for our ML product? If so, how does that look like? Now, you don't need to be a designer. None of us have to be a designer to do that. There's a cool tool called Excalibur. By the way, it's like a digital whiteboard, so this is just a one use that you can use it for. But it's very, very helpful, in my opinion, to use it to draw how do you envision the end result. Maybe it's not a web application. Maybe we just, we need to serve a REST API, and another service at the backend will be consuming predictions from our model by calling this REST API. So how does this REST API really look like? How many endpoints does it have? What are these endpoints? Right, so really have this, envision this end result and try to visualize it as much as possible. Visualization could be a list of API endpoints, right? But it's still something clear, like clear deliverable that we're aiming to. Creating alignment. So as you can see in the picture, sometimes we miss alignment between different stakeholders. But what we see a lot of times is that product managers, or we can call them ML consumers, the people who use machine learning results, they come with, they're bombastic, like this is a magic. Machine learning is a magic. I want you to prioritize my leads. Do your magic, right? For the data scientists, they don't think in that sense. Like, are we talking about classification problem or regression? It's a very good question, right? But if you ask the marketing person, regression or classification, I'm not sure they'll understand exactly what you're meaning, right? So creating alignment on what are the metrics that we want to achieve, what are we measuring, what is success, what does success look like, and to make sure we all the people in the team are aligned on that. This is crucial for success. So when we get there, we know that we are successful. Asking questions. We all very, very smart people in this room, I'm sure. But we don't know everything. And this gets back to the point that our users are not us. So we need to ask as much question to extract information as much as possible. And there's also kind of a subtle art of asking questions. There's an amazing book called The Mom Test, which it's very short, very practical. I highly recommend you to read it, about how do you ask questions to gain objective facts and results, right? And the concept of the mom test is like, if you're a kid and you go to your mother with a drawing of a house that you just scraped or something, your mother will tell you, oh my God, this is amazing, you're Michelangelo, right? Obviously, that's not the case. So, and she's lying to us not because she's a liar, because she likes us, because she's nice. And the same goes with all the people that we speak with our users as well. So be minded to what questions you ask and how you ask them. And measurement, all right? So we talked a bit about success. How does success look like? We need to have clear KPIs, clear metrics. My personal recommendation would be splitting it into 3 categories. One would be business KPIs. Is it revenues? Is it transactions? What are we trying to move? Number 2 would be usage. I know it's not something we talk a lot about, but what is the usage of our model? What is the usage of our ML product, right? How many predictions is it making? How many users are using it from day to day? Do we have an uptake? It's amazing, right? Like, we've been working on it for weeks. This is our baby. We want to see it shining. And the third category is data science metrics, like F1 score, NDCG, and so on. And lastly, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to listen, does it make a sound? It's a very interesting question. So the same goes here. Let's say we build an amazing model. We even release it to production. It's making some impact for the business, but no one knows about it. The product managers, they don't know that this is thanks to the models that we built. So have you really moved the needle for someone? So that's also important, keeping on communication. All right, so I really promised a framework. So let's transition back to the framework. All right, so what we see on the screen is 4 high-level steps of the process that you can really check once you completed planning, completed research, so we can always have clear understanding where are we in building our ML product. Down here, we can see the framework, always in front of ourselves to make sure we're keeping these principles. And then to the right, we have a list of tooling for each and every step. I won't get into all of these tools, but just for a few. Let's start with the product planning. In general, when we plan, we need to start from the end and go backwards. And this relates to envisioning. All right, can you see from there? Try to. All right. So problem. What is the problem our users are having and we're trying to solve for them, right? The previous step was actually identifying the different personas. So in this case, we might have the product manager. Actually, we can just do it, right? So let's go for users. All right, so I'll be happy that we'll make this part interactive. So let's go back to our example, e-commerce website. We want to give recommendations. Who are our users? the website users, great. So we'll call them website users. And we'll call them on a single, not on a plural, website user. Just we'll treat each one of them separately. So this is one persona. All right, so this is their role. What is their main goal? So get the relevant recommendation. What else? It's okay that there are multiple goals. What? Buy the product that they're looking for, right? As simple as it gets. What else? We are all these kind of users. Yeah. So they want to have smooth experience, right? Okay, and there are some more things we can add here. Let's talk a bit about what challenges do they have as a user. Think about yourself when you go online to buy something. We're just after Black Friday. What? Too many items. You can just buy all of them.
They may not know what they want.
Yeah, could be. They don't know what they want, what they're looking for. All right, and there are plenty more. Let's talk about one more persona. Who's the other persona that we have here, if we have anyone else? So sales manager, it could be. In our case, it's an e-commerce website, so I'm assuming like for consumers, there are no salespeople in this company. But it could be in another case, yes. Web store owner, yeah. So it could be like web store owner or e-commerce manager. So that's their role. Now, what's their main goal? What? Sell. Okay, but when you sell, what you're trying to achieve? Like if we'll try to do it more kind of very strict. Generate revenue, money. Yeah, so very simple. Generate as much revenue as possible. So challenges, they have plenty of challenges, right? Like they have to manage all these things. They need to pay for marketing activities and so on and so forth. But just by what we've started doing right now, we can already see that we have different users, different problems. So when we think about our machine learning product for recommendation, in this case for recommending about product, we need to think in at least two different angles. One from the website user, one from the web store owner. Okay, and this already provides us with context to the next step. So from here, let's go and discuss the purpose. So beforehand, we talked about users in a generic way. Now we're talking specifically on the project, on the product that we are working on. So what is the problem or the user story we're trying to solve in this case? So I see that we are short in time, so I'll do this part a bit quicker. So the answer here is we can't really know. We can just assume. And what we talked like 5 minutes ago, we shouldn't assume, right? So this is a great opportunity to go and ask them. Let's schedule a meeting with the store owner and ask them, like, all right, so you told us that you want to get more revenues by recommendations. How do you envision it? Why do you want that? Like, what kind of recommendation? Is it for all of the products in the store? Where do you want to see it? Is it on the homepage or in the shopping cart or the checkout? Like, that's the part of visualization. Really exploring and envisioning where is it. And then we get to the part of the full-blown solution. Here, we need to envision the large picture, the largest dream. We are Amazon. We can build a crazy recommender system. By the way, in Amazon, 30% of the revenues is coming from recommender systems. So we can really build this out, open Excalibur, and really just take a screenshot of the e-commerce website. Let's say we're Amazon. So I see that the internet is not in my favor. All right, so you can just, let's do it, take a screenshot. And this is not loading. All right, but so maybe we'll get to it later. Here we can visualize, again, think about it. Mockup, how the new website looks like. Is it an SDK? If so, what's the interface? What are the functions? What are the parameters they receive? Same for API. And a very, very important part is edge cases, okay? So if you recall the two examples with the shirts that we saw beforehand, these are edge cases, right? So here it's very interesting to think about the edge cases not only from technical perspective, but also from users, right? Like what could go wrong? And is it different, right? So we saw two different types of issues. One was offering same items at a lower price. And the other thing that we saw was the opposite, right? Like offering items that are much more expensive. So here we can write a more detailed description of each one of them. What is the implication for the user, for the business? How can we measure it? This is also important because we want to track it later on and to see, do we face this edge case very often? And then a very important question is, what is the priority of that? Again, what is the priority of that? I don't know. We need to ask people. We need to ask our users. What is worse? So in this case, offering the same item at a lower price, that means losing potential revenue. On the other hand, offering items that are much more expensive is providing with wrongful recommendations. So in this case, I might say the first issue, we have to be the best on this case, like we have to solve it very, very well. On the other one, we can try to do our best, but it's not really important. It's not the most important thing for us. And another option for other edge cases, they might not be relevant or important in our case, but it's important to list all of them. All right, so this is for the purpose. Once we have that and we visualize, right? So we have the full-blown product. Now we know how it looks like, how it's going to work someday. We don't want to start and, again, shoot for the stars and just start from that. We want to break it down to deliverable milestones. Deliverable equals something that got changed for the user. So in this case, I personally like to call the first milestone 0 and not 1, because that makes us think about a minimal milestone. So something very minimal, but that is valuable for our users. And then we can build multiple milestones. I'll touch very briefly on research. It is recommended to do weekly updates. I think one of the questions that should be asked in here is, are we on track, at risk, or off track? And do we really still believe that we can achieve project goals? We need to have in mind that research is not like development. There is a question of feasibility, right? So maybe we've done our research. We got to a point that we realize, all right, unfortunately, we need to spend at least a few more months to get there. Does it worth it? So very important question. And one last thing that I'll share with you is when you're in production, when you already have the model, the ML product running, track these metrics that we've identified before, aligned on them and agree on them, and have dashboarding for the business metrics, for the data science metric, for the usage. We want to see how much people are using it and how successful is our product. And maybe we can also learn some new insights on how to improve it. So I have a lot more to say about it, but I don't have enough time. So I just want to summarize by saying, make ML products, not ML models. ML models are great. They're very important. They're a key part of the ML product. But from a mindset perspective, in order to gain success, to create more value for the teams we are working with, think about ML products. Thank you.